What kinds of
Mhm.
things can we actually do in
Yeah.
terms of our relationships
But
and general elements of mindfulness and general elements of defining our own purpose, right? Combined with self-awareness and self-care to find that sweet spot right there and find ourselves in balance. And further on question, if we're out of balance, what can we do? I think Ralph's question is excellent. So
I think for starters, it's actually really hard to achieve ikigai where you're balanced with all five. So that itself is kind of harder to reach. So naturally, I don't think I've met a person who isn't fully out of balance. Like I haven't met a person who's reached ikigai for sure because it's hard. But like I feel like you can move closer and like be round yourself a little bit more between all of those to like maybe bring yourself closer to ikigai. But I don't feel like it's physically possible to reach that like the center point where everything is balanced. That makes sense.
I mean, if it's only you, sure. But the thing is, we we're not living this life alone. This class is part of that proof. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you just stay at home, sit at a computer, and do nothing, think about it. You play video games. How many people do you pass by? How many people do you meet? You go talk to your parents. Well, that's another two people. You go to this class. That's another how many? 9 people, I think, if I include myself. Like it's impossible to be alone. So there's always factors that you can't control.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
so you just find a balance for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, there's different balances for different people, but like using this graph of ikigai, where this middle of perfect self-awareness, perfect self-care, perfect relationship, perfect mindfulness, and perfect purpose. That's hard to reach. Like this is objective standards.
That's true.
This isn't much of like personal bias. This is more objective standards for a perfect
oh,
life, I
oh,
would say.
but I would say this, Jason, and this is where the real sweet spot may be elusive. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you there, but this is the question is whether or not you're talking about a process or an outcome. And that's where, for me, this was what I discovered within my dissertation for my master's for this leadership thing, right? I learned that if I focused on the process, similar to what the Japanese do, that kaizen kind of thing, you'll meet the sushi master who's been making sushi for
Mm-hmm.
50 or 60 years, and they say that they still haven't achieved greatness in terms of their own sushi, mastership or whatever it is, right? Because they approach this kaizen, this sense of constant, continual improvement and commitment to the process. Now, we live in this Western society, which is very, very focused on the outcomes. And if we're talking about outcomes only, all of this is absolutely impossible because there's only one way that you can actually get to that sweet spot where all of these things align. All right. But my opinion is very strongly that if you stick with just accepting it as a general process overall, then you kind of wake up each morning and you see, well, this is kind of where I am today. So, for example, let's say that you establish a specific purpose for yourself. You say, today, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to complete all of the work that I have to do for my stuff. I'm going to do some preparatory things in advance. And then I'm going to treat myself with some care. I'm going to facilitate and foster my relationships. I'm going to reflect and think about who I am as a person. And I'm going to pay attention to the process of all of it as I do it. And so all of these circles, they end up aligning, right? Where the purpose itself is the catalyst or the like that thing that lies behind it. The self-awareness is the way that it helps you to understand yourself as you're doing it. Then you take care of yourself not only mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? Then as a result of taking care of yourself, you are able to do and bring your best game to the relationships that you have. And the mindfulness is being present and simply being in it, not being drawn towards the fact that it has to be good or bad or that we're judging it in any kind of specific way. We're just committing to the process and noticing it for what it is. And in that